Welcome back to The Lost Tactician, where we uncover the forgotten wisdom that shaped our world. You'd think our advanced science could protect anything, right? But what if I told you the very sealants designed to preserve are actively destroying priceless medieval wood, while ancient techniques lasted for centuries? Today, we're diving into a shocking material science blunder that proves modern isn't always better. This is a story of chemistry gone wrong, forgotten craftsmen's wisdom, and the irony of progress destroying what it seeks to save. Picture the soaring oak beams of a 13th-century cathedral, their surfaces darkened by 700 winters, yet still bearing the weight of stone vaults overhead. Imagine the curved planks of a Viking longship, pulled from a burial mound after a millennium underground, still recognizable, still structurally sound. Walk through the crooked streets of medieval towns where half-timbered houses lean into each other, their wooden skeletons exposed to centuries of rain and sun, yet refusing to surrender to time's assault. These structures stand as silent testimony to a preservation mastery we've somehow forgotten. The medieval builders who shaped these timbers possessed no scanning electron microscopes, no polymer chemistry laboratories, no understanding of molecular bonds, yet their wood endures, while our scientifically advanced treatments accelerate the very decay they promise to prevent. How did craftsmen working by firelight and intuition achieve what our brightest chemists cannot replicate? The answer lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of what wood truly is and what it needs to survive. Walk into any hardware store today and you'll find gleaming cans of polyurethane, silicone-based sealants, and acrylic finishes, each promising ultimate protection for your timber. The chemistry seems sound. Create an impenetrable barrier against water, ultraviolet radiation, and oxygen. Seal the enemy out, preserve the wood within. But when these miracle solutions meet medieval timber, disaster unfolds at the molecular level. These synthetic sealants form what chemists call a non-breathable barrier, a flexible plastic skin that completely encapsulates the wood's surface. Picture wrapping ancient timber in an airtight plastic bag, and you'll understand the catastrophe beginning to unfold. Wood isn't inert material like stone or metal. It's a biological matrix that spent decades or centuries as living tissue, and even in death it remains dynamically responsive to its environment. It swells when humid, contracts when dry, absorbing and releasing moisture in an endless cycle. When you trap that natural respiration beneath an impermeable seal, moisture accumulates in the wood's cellular structure with nowhere to escape. Visit any cathedral where well-meaning conservators applied modern sealants decades ago, and you'll witness the consequences. Bubbling surfaces where trapped moisture has literally lifted the sealant away from the wood, spiderweb cracks radiating across once smooth beams, and most devastatingly, soft spots of rot spreading beneath what appears to be a pristine protective coating. The sealant hasn't preserved the wood. It's created a greenhouse for decay. The medieval carpenter approached wood preservation with a philosophy entirely foreign to our modern mindset: work with the wood, not against it. These craftsmen understood instinctively what our laboratories are only now rediscovering: that wood preservation begins not with surface treatment, but with the tree itself. Winter harvesting wasn't superstition, but sophisticated material selection. When medieval builders felled oaks during December's dormancy, they captured timber with minimal sap flow and depleted sugar reserves, starving the fungi and insects that caused decay before they could establish a foothold. But the real genius lay in their preservation treatments, techniques developed through generations of empirical observation and passed down through guild secrets. Consider pine tar, that ancient black substance still found in archaeological digs across northern Europe. Medieval workers didn't simply paint it on wood surfaces. They heated the tar until it reached a precise viscosity, then brushed it deep into the timber's grain while the wood itself was warm, allowing capillary action to draw the preservative into the cellular structure. The tar didn't sit atop the wood as a barrier, it became integrated into the wood's matrix, creating hydrophobic channels that repelled water while allowing air movement through untreated pathways. Linseed oil served similar functions. Pressed from flax seeds and sometimes heated with pine resin, it penetrated deeply into oak and pine, filling the wood's tubular cells with a substance that hardened over time into a water-resistant yet vapor-permeable matrix. Some regions employed shosugi-ban, the Japanese technique of charring wood surfaces until a carbon layer formed, creating a naturally fungicidal barrier that simultaneously repelled insects and shed water while maintaining breathability. To understand why medieval methods succeed where modern chemistry fails, you must envision wood at the microscopic level. Wood is composed of elongated cells called tracheids and vessels, hollow tubes that once transported water and nutrients through the living tree. These tubes run parallel to the grain, creating channels that naturally wick moisture along the wood's length. Surrounding these tubes is lignin, the rigid polymer that gives wood its strength, and cellulose, the fibrous material that provides flexibility. This structure makes wood hygroscopic. It absorbs and releases moisture in response to environmental humidity, constantly seeking equilibrium with surrounding air. When you apply a modern polyurethane sealant, you're essentially capping these tubes with an impermeable plug, like sealing thousands of tiny straws with wax. Water vapor already present in the wood or drawn in through unsealed end grain becomes trapped, condensing inside the cellular structure when temperatures drop. This creates localized pockets of moisture where fungi can establish colonies, breaking down lignin and cellulose through enzymatic action. The pH of many modern sealants compounds the problem. Ancient oak timbers often develop alkaline surface conditions through centuries of lime mortar contact, while the sealants themselves may be acidic or highly alkaline, creating chemical conditions that actively hydrolyze the bonds holding cellulose chains together. Medieval treatments avoided this chemical warfare entirely. Pine tar is pH neutral and works through physical water repellency rather than chemical reaction. Linseed oil actually polymerizes within the wood, forming stable cross-linked molecules that strengthen rather than degrade the cellular structure. The conservation community is finally acknowledging what medieval craftsmen knew. Preservation means partnership with natural processes, not dominance over them. Across Europe, heritage restoration projects are rediscovering traditional methods, mixing linseed oil with natural resins, applying pine tar using historical heating techniques, and most importantly, selecting heartwood from slow-grown trees rather than fast-grown plantation timber. Research institutions now study medieval timber at the molecular level, mapping how traditional treatments integrate with wood's cellular architecture rather than fighting against it. Some conservators are developing hybrid approaches that marry medieval wisdom with modern understanding, breathable lime-based sealants that allow moisture transmission while providing UV protection, or modified natural oils with enhanced penetration characteristics. The lesson extends far beyond historical preservation. Our entire approach to material science often assumes that synthetic superiority is inevitable, that laboratory-designed molecules must outperform substances nature spent millions of years perfecting. Yet, here stands proof that sometimes the old ways weren't primitive approximations awaiting improvement, but optimized solutions we abandoned in our rush toward novelty. The medieval carpenter who brushed hot pine tar into oak beams by candlelight possessed knowledge our civilization nearly lost. That true preservation isn't about sealing life away, but about working with materials as the dynamic, responsive substances they are. Those ancient timbers surviving today aren't monuments to primitive luck, but testimonies to sophisticated understanding of wood, weather, and time. As we face our own preservation challenges in an age of synthetic everything, perhaps the greatest wisdom lies in looking backward before pushing forward, in asking not what we can impose on materials, but what they need to endure. If this journey through forgotten craftsmanship and modern mistakes has opened your eyes to how much wisdom we've abandoned in our march toward progress, hit that like button. Share this with anyone who thinks newer always means better. And subscribe to The Lost Tactician, where we keep digging into the lessons history tried to teach us before we stopped listening. Until next time, remember, survival isn't about having the most advanced tools. It's about understanding the fundamentals that never change.